Welcome, everybody. We are here, and I want to thank everyone for joining me, the group, once again. I'm very pleased that you're here. As many of you know, my name is David Barron. I am a hypnotist. Most of the people here have some experience of hypnosis. So, what we're going to sort of narrow this down to is just what to what to do when you have only one session to work with somebody. And I'd like to start off. I have had some really good results with doing one session. And my mentor, he was committed to working with somebody for one session. He got good results about it, but he also was so confident he never felt an obligation to follow up, and he would let his clients follow up with him. When I started doing one session work, I found that I would get a lot of people calling back, and not a lot of people, but people would call back and say, "Oh, I did great, and I've started smoking again, and so we have to do another session." And so that's sort of why I developed a 3-session program. The session is there to help them create a really good positive start from the beginning. And then I give them a couple of days to a week to see how it integrates. And then we keep just building it up more and more. So, and that has worked very well. There are reasons someone may not want to do, may not be able to do more than 3 sessions. One of them could simply be cost, and I'll use the example of just stopping smoking. I have plenty of people who call me who want to quit smoking, and they're very sincere about it. Unfortunately, they don't have the funds for the whole full session. And some of them also just insist because of maybe that's what they're familiar with. Maybe that's because of what they always thought you could do it in one session, and they're really sort of married to that idea. And that's entirely possible. So, and they're just really committed to doing with one session. So I have a particular process in which I want to get them as ready as possible to make a dramatic change in one session. And I do this in a couple of different ways. I'm going to assume each of you have, and again, we'll use stop smoking as an example. Each of you have your hypnosis session that we'll just use. I'm not going to be talking about the session. I'm going to be talking about how to prepare the person and how to speak to them and how to get them in the state. So what you can do in that one session gets the most dramatic result that you can give them. And then what you do is you drop the leash, you have them run wild, and just assume they're going to do great. Then the ways of doing that are first, starting at the phone call, I always want to let them know about the 3 sessions. And then I explain to them why each session is necessary. Each session is there to give you that time between sessions to integrate it, and then we can make improvements and changes. And I acknowledge that they can't do the whole 3 sessions, so I don't want them to feel guilty. I want them to build a sense of anticipation and excitement to doing one thing very well in one session. And let me just sort of go to my notes here. Hang on just a second. There we go. All right. So the first thing I do, starting with scheduling it, is I want them to begin to build a sense of anticipation and expectancy. I remind them that as much as they want to say stop smoking, they want to be a better person. And you don't just want to quit smoking. You have all sorts of reasons to do it. And you want to become a better person. So you're not just going to feel a change. You're going to feel better and better about yourself. And I'll give them some some homework leading up to the session. The very first thing is I'm going to ask them to reduce their smoking. And they don't have to do it perfectly. They just have to make an effort to delay every cigarette and to reduce it to the very, very best of their ability. And if they want to come in jonesing, crazy and being irritable, that's fine. I give them encouragement. I let them do that. And I always encourage them to come to the session with a strong craving for a cigarette, because that's what we're going to be measuring. So I'm already getting them compliant by giving them instructions. I will also, there's a quit smoking homework sheet I give them as an attachment in an email. And I don't even tell them about that. They just have it there. I tell them to read the email and all the documents that are attached. And so, again, this is about compliance. And what we're going to be doing here is using Chase Hughes' 6-axis model heavily in order to get the best results. In the 6-axis model, there are 6 qualities that are involved in getting perfect persuasion, let's call it, influence. And they are expectancy, focus, openness, connection, compliance, and suggestibility. So early on, right from the beginning, we're building the expectancy. And I ask them to come in excited. So that sets the expectancy there. Okay, so the person now comes in to the session, and they may have no idea of what hypnosis is like. So here I have to deal with the mythologies and the conceptions and misconceptions of hypnosis. A lot of people, for reasons I have yet to understand, they feel they're going to be asleep. They're going to have no memory of what's going to happen, and they're going to not be able to hear my words as I'm speaking to them. And so I let them know, you will hear my words. You cannot end this session, say, I don't know if I was hypnotized because I heard every word you said. Let's just agree to that right now. You will hear my words. You will remember everything. And then I let them know that hypnosis doesn't happen in a room. It doesn't happen in a hypnosis chair. It happens entirely in your mind. And what you have to do, and here I'm building their compliance, you have to follow instructions. And all I'm going to do is tell you what to focus on. All I'm going to do is tell you how to focus on it. Your job is to follow instructions. And as I mention something, I want you to imagine as though it's absolutely real. At that point, sometimes people will tell me they don't imagine very well. They don't make images in their head. And I use this metaphor. Okay, let's assume I took you into a big room through the door, and I led you to the other side of the room and turned off all the lights. And it's completely black. And I said, walk toward the door. You don't see the door, but you know it's there. You're actually doing some imagination there. So again, just follow the instructions. It's not like you have to see it perfectly. You just have to respond as though what I'm telling you is absolutely real. And then I just ask for their agreement, if they can understand it, if they have any questions. At this point also, once they're in the chair talking to me, I want to go for the openness. And I usually say something like, you have to be in an incredibly open state to actually even consider coming to a hypnotist. How did you get to be so open? And they get to talk about that. And what they're doing is they're bringing forth that quality of openness. And then you can use, again, one of those processes that's the negative disassociation. You say, because there are a lot of people who come to a hypnotist and they are not open at all. And you know it because, they come with their arms folded and they say, okay, do your stuff as if this is a salon and I'm going to do your hair for you. No, you have to be open. So again, you're getting the openness, you're getting the expectancy, and then let me go through my notes here. I made some notes. So then I want to tell them what hypnosis is like. Now, maybe they've had hypnosis in the past and it's worked well for them. I have a lot of people who've gone to a hypnosis seminar and they were the ones who it didn't work with. And so what I let them know that hypnosis is really about a very intense state of focus. Some people will say it feels relaxing, and it does, but it's not just relaxation. It's taking all of your attention and narrowing it down to a really intense focus. And everyone who's been alive has had some experience in their life where they are so involved in something that they're doing, something they enjoy. Maybe they're in what they call the flow state and time stops. That's what it's like to be hypnotized. However, with hypnosis, we can focus in on anything. So what you and I are going to create is a feeling, an emotion that makes you feel so good and makes you feel so good about yourself. You could never reach for a cigarette. You always feel this good. And then I'll hand it over to them. I say, what would you need to feel so good you would never want a cigarette? Then I'll shut up and I'll let them sort of ponder it. And many of them come up with an idea on their own. But if they don't, I always offer sort of a list, which is maybe you want to feel a sense of strength, a feeling of confidence, a feeling of self-esteem. Maybe you want to feel that love that you have from all of those incredible family members that are around you. I don't know, but there are a lot of good feelings out there. So once again, take a moment and imagine what that feeling is like. And tell me what you come up with. And of course, anything they come up with, I write it down. That's going to be the secret ingredients to the recipe that we're going to be building here. And once they have it, I'll test it. I say, okay, imagine you're feeling this feeling. And you're feeling it. And you're feeling so good and so good about yourself. You just keep feeling better and better. You are now feeling that feeling. Would you want a cigarette? And if they say no, perfect. If they say, I don't know, or maybe, if they say probably, that's good because they're on the right track. But if they say, I don't know, then I say, well, we have to make it better. So let's add some more good things in there. And again, I want to come back to a feeling that they would agree would make them feel so good, they wouldn't want a cigarette. Now I'm going to pause for a moment. There are hypnotists, and I'm not one of them. There are hypnotists that would make you feel so disgusted at a cigarette you would never reach for it. So you can go that route, but I don't. Okay, I'd rather leave people feeling much, much better. And so once we get to that, then the conversation comes down to the instructions, which is, again, you're going to have your own hypnosis process, but your instructions here are to basically tell them what to do and how to do it and the emotions and the energy they're going to put into it. And what I tell them is your job is to follow my instructions. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what to focus on. I'm going to tell you how to focus on it. Your job is to make it absolutely real. And that means that if we talk about this feeling, you feel it. Are you willing to follow my instructions? And if I get a head nod, yes, then we can proceed. So what we're doing in this in one session is, at the very least, creating the expectancy, the the focus, and the openness. And if you can, and there are parts in there where you can create a sense of connection, like you can just mention connection in the hypnosis session, about connecting deeply with this part of you that wants so much to be free. Connect deeply with this incredibly positive emotion. So just by mentioning connection, you're creating a deep connection. Now, in the six access model, the connection is between you, the person doing the influence, and the person you're dealing with, but connection in any sort is appropriate in this case. Everything from that point on is about compliance and suggestibility. And so the compliance started when you're doing the intake, when you're talking with them on the phone and giving them instructions. The simplest instruction I give someone is, I'm going to send you an email. It's not a long email, but it's important. Read it all the way through. That's the very first instruction. And the second instruction is, come with a really strong craving for a cigarette. And so I will then start the hypnosis session by saying, okay, you're not just going to be different, you're going to be better at the end of this. You excited? I raise my eyebrows and nod my head and until they say yes, and I say, okay, let's go. At that point, I do the hypnosis session. And it's by creating that build up that you can get a really positive result. And you also let them know, one of the things I do in the pre-talk is, because we're having to limit this through one session, we have to get the best result for you. And here's what's going to happen. I want you right now to just agree to yourself you're going to be a non-smoker. And I'm not saying you're going to be a non-smoker today, tomorrow, next week. You just know that from this point forward, you are never going to give up. You've just got it in your mind. It's like you decide to build a house and you just know you're going to build a house, and you build that house. You know it's going to happen. So set that in your mind. No urgency, just certainty that you're going to be a non-smoker. And if it takes one session to do it, great. If after the session it takes 2 days, that's great. You know you're going to do it. And from this time forward, only two things are going to happen. Because you're never going to give up, you're going to have incredible experiences, and every one of them you're going to celebrate. And the other thing is, you can't fail, because the only thing else is you'll have lessons that you learn from. There's no failure. There's no failure, because you are never going to give up. Set that in your mind. Do you understand that? Do you agree that you're going to be a non-smoker? Okay, good. Then I just start the whole hypnosis session. And typically at the end of the session, they feel so good, and they feel so good about themselves. I tell them to try to want a cigarette. I tell them I call it poking at the bear. Let's try and get your problem back. Go ahead. Try to want a cigarette. And it's always an amusing, fun, and entertaining thing when they say, I can't. It's just like it's blocked. I don't want it. I'm not that person anymore. Always, whenever they say something good, or they say it feels great, you say, it feels great, doesn't it? So you always acknowledge it, and acknowledge it back to them how good it feels. And at that point, at the end of the session, I said, okay, you got it. I'm going to drop the leash. I'm going to have you run wild. Your job is, and this is your homework, celebrate your victories, every one of them. And second, just keep reminding yourself, I'm a non-smoker. And at the end, and I'll say this again, as much as you want to be a non-smoker, you want to be this better person. And every time you remind yourself, I'm a non-smoker, you're stepping right into that version of yourself. And it feels really good, doesn't it? And I take their money, and I shake their hand, and I drop the leash and have them run wild. I always give them an opportunity to come back. I do remind them that my typical process is 3 sessions. And if they have another session or 2 sessions, I will never charge them beyond those 2 sessions. So they'll pay the whole amount. And that works for a lot of people. Some people, I do have to see them a second time. But again, I want to give them the best result in the shortest amount of time for what they can afford. Okay, I hope I've broken this down well enough. Some of you are taking notes. Any of you have any questions, any observations, any personal things that you do to sort of instill all of those things? Graham.
Question. Well, yeah. Well, it's not so much a question, more like a query on the linguistic side of it, because as you're saying something like you'll never give up. Obviously the intent is you'll never give up being a non-smoker. Would there be a danger of actually using that? They might get a bit confused in their head about never being able to give up smoking.
Oh, no. They have to first set it in their mind that they're going to be a non-smoker, and that it may take time. It may take one entire session for them to reach that point where they're a non-smoker. But there's also no urgency there. They know that there'll be victories they celebrate and lessons they'll learn, but there's no failures here. And they will be a non-smoker because they will never give up trying.
Yeah, that's what I mean when you say never give up. It's the sort of things like never give up cigarettes, never give up trying. The brain will just latch onto the phrase never give up
I
and
I
might
have
miss
never
it.
come across that myself. Okay, I understand the linguistics and the confusion of it.
Yeah.
As long as it's set up appropriately, I think you can deal with it really well.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good question. Yes, Anne.
Yes. For people to do weight management, that's a slightly different issue because people have to eat. They
Yep,
can't just give up food the way you give up smoking.
agreed.
So do you do something similar and can you do it in one session with weight management?
You can. There are a couple ways to do it. Focus on if they have cravings, for example. That's the easiest thing. If they crave chocolate cakes or ice cream at 9 o'clock at night and things like that, uh, focus on the behaviors. It could also be about motivation. So if you focus on the motivation and you're building that up, you know that over time they're still going to consume the foods they need, and they're going to be more motivated about it. Um, so, and let's see, there's just something else I was going to say here. Well, first of all, does that answer your question?
Well, I'd actually like you to talk a little bit more about it.
Okay. One thing I do with weight loss is I ask them what's the ideal weight, what is the weight they would be satisfied to reach, and that will be the point that they are moving toward, and they know they're going to get there. They just know they're going to get there, and it's going to happen again because they're going to keep at it. There's no failures. There are lessons they learn from, but you can't see them as failures because you're going to learn from them and keep going. And there'll be victories that you celebrate. So if you, in my version of hypnosis session, I sort of set their subconscious mind toward that ideal weight, knowing it's just a matter of time they're going to get there. That help?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. All right, Alex.
Yeah, I was thinking that when I'm helping someone, the first thing I do is I'm telling the unconscious mind that it already has all the resources it needs to be able to solve this problem that they came to see me about. that had actually helped with someone to go smoke free. As far as I could tell, it looks like they've been smoke free now for more than a year. They haven't come back saying I've had the first cigarette in X months. I don't think they've come back to me at all, but they do still communicate with me. So that's the second thing that I point out, is that it's never anything negative. You don't leave a hole in their psyche. In fact, what I do is I take another positive habit that they are already familiar with, and then I just sort of insert that front and center where their smoking problem would have been. For example, I said going smoke free, and that it'd be sort of the person that they were before they had their first ever cigarette. That time when they remembered how it was to be fully healthy and to go a whole day without once putting one of those in their mouth or anywhere else. And so the third one is like, if they do feel like they've backslid a little bit, I try not to make them feel like, I don't know, how do I describe it? Like there's some puritanical Sunday school teacher standing over them, being all judgy and that sort of stuff. I just tell them it's like you've missed the stitch. You've lost count of the stitch. I'll go back to the point where you kept count, and then you start from that point, and you just resume from where you were at the previous point, your last save point, as it were. So it's like telling them this is not an ending. It's just a slight setback. Reverse back to a position where you are comfortable, and then resume from that point. And it doesn't matter if you're not made as good progress next time as you did the last time. That's okay. Even a little bit of progress is still amazing. Yeah. Considering the alternative would have been to do nothing. So anyway.
Let me comment on that. First of all, letting them know that their subconscious mind already has the answer. And a way you can do this is, people who've quit smoking without hypnosis. They've done it. They found that link in their mind to do it. So you already know you can do this just by other people's example. And your mind has that there for you. I think that's a perfect thing to put in there. The other thing you said, and I did have a story of a client. First session went 3 days really well, and they started smoking a cigarette for whatever reason. I don't know why. And they said, I almost had to cancel my appointment because you'd be so ashamed of me, and I feel so guilty. And I say, no, this is why I have 3 sessions. It's like, and they say, you're not upset with me? And I says, no, it's almost like I've been doing this for 26 years. Okay. I've seen this before. This is part of the process. So, and I also remind them, being hard on yourself and being guilty only links you further. So learn from the experience, and I'll take some time and I'll tell them, just reflect back. What did you learn from this? What was happening that triggered it? It could be stress. It could be familiar settings or social pressure, everyone else smoking. Okay, great. That's a lesson. It's not a failure. Don't feel guilty. This is something you learn from and you improve with. And then you sort of see all the Jenga blocks sort of fit together, and it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. Yes. So that was a wonderful observation. Thanks for contributing that. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, no one.
Yes,
David.
Graham.
Is there any problems that people come to you that you would definitely not do a 1 session on? It would require 3 things. Is there anything that you tend to steer clear of for single session work?
Here's what I tell people, which is if all you can do is 1 session, I can just promise you I'm going to give you my best. You're going to get my best effort of 26 years of experience. But you still have to follow my instructions. So, I haven't yet found somebody that I would refuse, because my job is make the world slightly better, and if I can do that, I'm happy to. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. What I want to talk about next week is about de-escalation. And this is something I had an incredible experience where I had someone call me and they were very upset. And because I learned this skill at the end of it, they were talking to me like a friend. It was incredible. And so it's a de-escalation process that's actually used in the FBI and hostage negotiations and all sorts of things like that. So that's going to be the topic we talk about next week. Any last questions or comments? Okay. I want to encourage all of you to put next week in the schedule. Please don't hesitate to contact me, email, phone call, whatever. If you want to set up a chat, I love talking with other hypnotists. I will do it as my time is available and promise to do it. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Because you're here, you're not somewhere else, and you had a sacrifice to be here. I deeply appreciate the sacrifice you made. And we will talk next week. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you, and
Thank
happy
you
New Year to you.
Please take care.
Thank you for putting the session on, David. Appreciate it as always.
All right, take care. Bye.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
And you.